I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident.
Hi, my name is Michaela Pandoff, and I'm here to interview my parents about Rosa Parks. On December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks made one of the biggest civil rights stands simply by sitting down. She was riding a bus, and at that time, buses were separated into the black section and the white section because of segregation. She was sitting in the front row of the black section, and the white section was full, and a white man got onto the bus. He wanted to sit down, so he expected Rosa Parks to move out of the first row simply because she was black. She refused to get up because she believed she had equal rights as he did. Let's see what my parents have to think on these situations. Thank you for taking the time to do this interview with me. I have a few questions I'd like to ask you. My first question is, Rosa refused to give up her seat to a white man because the white section was full. She stood up for what she believed in. If you were in her situation, how would you respond?
I would do the same thing because I believe that somebody needs to stand up for injustice in order to get rid of ignorance in our culture and make things better for future generations.
My second question I'd like to ask you is, if you had family, as Rosa did, would you take the risk of being arrested for what you believed in?
Yes, I would take the risk because my actions could possibly make it better for my family and future generations.
Okay. To wrap up this interview, I have one last question I'd like to ask you. My last question is, as a teacher, do you have something you feel so strongly about that you would take a stand as Rosa did?
Yes, I believe that every student should have to pass an end-level proficiency exam in order to be passed on to the next grade level, and if the student doesn't pass, they should have to repeat the grade level instead of us continually passing on students who are not at the level of education that they need to be successful in the higher grades.
Thank you for doing this interview with me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for doing this interview with me.
You're very welcome, more than happy.
I have a few questions I'd like to ask you. My first one is, Rosa Parks agreed to use the bus arrest as a test trial for the NAACP, even though that was very dangerous for her. If you had been in the same situation as Rosa, would you have taken the risk and allowed your case to be used as a test trial? Or would you have said no and kept yourself from the danger that lay ahead?
Well, you know, it's one of those things where you would always love to say that you would be so heroic, okay? Honestly, I couldn't say if I would or I would not, because I would have to weigh the fact that, you know, if you have smaller children at home, it could very much affect my livelihood and the safety of my children. So I just couldn't honestly answer. I don't know.
Okay, well, I can see your point. I have another question I'd like to ask you. History judges Rosa Parks as a hero in the civil rights movement. Do you view her actions as heroic?
Well, most heroes throughout history, when asked a similar question, did you feel you were a hero, have always said that, no, I didn't see myself as a hero. I wasn't trying to be a hero, and I wasn't doing anything heroic. I was just doing what was right. And do I see it as heroic? Well, looking back on it, yes, it was heroic. At the time, I wouldn't say it was heroic as much as it said something about the character of that person. And to me, character runs far deeper than heroism. She showed that she had the character and to stand up in the face of what was wrong. So, more so than being a hero, I would say that she showed that she had great character as an individual.
Okay, my last question that I'd like to ask you to wrap up this interview is there something that you would feel so strongly about that you would stand up for?
Absolutely. For me, I believe in our country, I believe in our way of life, and I believe in freedom and our God-given rights. that this country stands for and that every human being is entitled to. My own personal stand, or taking a stand on that, was by joining the military. I've traveled around the world. I've fought for what we as Americans believe in. So yes, to spread what I believe is a God-given right to, freedom is what I would take a stand on.
Thank you, and I'd also like to thank you for fighting for our country.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.